So we'll be doing rapid fire AMA. I don't know if I've got time to do anything else in game, but I did want to communicate with the community and see what's going on. Favorite boss fight, Siegecrafter Blackfuse, by far. That is a fight worth its weight in fucking gold. Like, it's unbelievably. I liked it because it was complex, and it was one of those fights where you could theoretically approach it any way you wanted to. You can approach it and say, okay, we don't want to deal with this, and you can tailor it towards your group. Like, if your group just didn't have enough rogues, you can avoid shockwaves or mines or whatever, that kind of stuff. But this is my healing monk. I might try and level this one and heal at the end of the tier. That's my goal. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things. One of those things that I'd like to see more of is more ways to approach a boss fight. I don't think that it's out, because like everyone's like, you need to do it this way, and there's only one way to do this fight. I like when there's more ways to do the fight, because then people start talking about how to do it and why they do it the way they do it, as opposed to, you know, this is what Fat Boss said, and this is what you know, that kind of shit, you know. Worst experience in Raid? Well, that's kind of a broad question. Actually, what's your best WoW memory or funny story from playing WoW? That's a good question. My best WoW memory. I've got a good WoW memory. It's not like my 100% best one, but this is one I always like to tell people. So, me and my brother were in Wintergrasp, and for whatever reason, you know, Wintergrasp is like, you can attack different sides. Everyone was on the left-hand side, and there was just a fierce fighting on the left-hand side. And we took a siege engine, and we decided to go on the right-hand side. And he was in the gunner position, I was in the driver position. And we are both very animated people. When we play and just love to have a good time, and just love to just go at it, right? And so we are just sitting there going nuts, like, oh yes, bash the seat, and we just plowed through, and there was no resistance, but we were pretending like there was, like just saying, oh, get more ammo, I'm out of ammo. We plowed through, and then we bust through the right hand side. And just as we bust to the right-hand side, the other side busted through. So we just swarmed in, and then my siege engine took Wintergrasp. And this was all like, I was only like playing for like a year. I wasn't really that good at the game, and it was just really fun. Funny story from playing WoW. I got a funny story, and I hope Zell's still in chat, because Zell remembers this story. We had just cleared Siegecrafter Blackfuse. Doc and Siegecrafter Blackfuse in Siege of Orgrimmar in my first guild, Gods Among Legends, and we got to Paragons, second to last fight. Now, in order to start the Paragons fight, you have to click a crystal, and Zell, who is the most gullible person alive, walks up to the crystal and goes, "Ooh, what's this?" Clicks the crystal and starts the fight, and like nobody's ready, right? Two people are taking a piss break. I mean, it was just nothing. And Zell was so unbelievably like embarrassed, like, oh my god, you guys think I'm a moron. Like, it was just yes, he's also in chat, he knows what's up. That was definitely a funny story from playing. Well, I've got so many funny stories. Yeah. But yeah, he ever since then, like, we just bug Zell, like, hey, don't click the crystal, Zell. What are some other good WoW memories? Another good WoW memory I would say would be maybe the Bracken Spore kill. Maybe I should maybe I should show him or not. We'll see. Brackenspore kill was pretty awesome. Like it was like 27 people, 7 healing. That was a great memory. I like the one with your brother. You must have felt that. Oh, it was so epic because like I was in my room and he was in his room, which was down the hallway. So we're yelling at each other, not only through Skype, because we were using Skype at the time because we didn't even have like an organized guild, and we're yelling. And then my girlfriend at the time was playing next to me and she's just laughing, like face palming, like, cause we're so animated trying to get through this wall. And we brought, like, it was just so epic. Like it was just something so simple, yet we made it so fun. But yeah, worst experience in raid. That's a great question. That's a good one. There's a lot of experience. I guess, I don't know. Experiences, probably, and Zell knows this one too. It was towards the end of Gods. It was actually the last raid night of Gods Among Legends. I had some people in my guild that just, you know, they couldn't hack 25 man, and we were going 25 man, and because we were going mythic 20 man next expansion, that was the goal, because we we're trying to go hardcore. So we got a 25 man raid together and they just were not cutting it. So they decided to quit. And I didn't know this, but it was a couple, so a guy and a girl, and they decided to just, because they had a lot of influence. A lot of people that joined the guild were like friends of theirs. They had this big, large network of friends, and I didn't know this. All of a sudden people would start joining my guild, and I'm lining up for raid night, and people start logging in, and as people are logging in, they're G quitting from the guild, and like my hunter's gone, my other healer's gone, my tank's gone, and I get in raid, and some people take invites, and we need 25 people, and I had like a 30 man roster, and as I start inviting people start saying sorry Marcus, and G quitting and leaving, and I'm left with like 22 people. We pug a couple spots. We wiped on Nourishin all night. And Cell remembers that was the first night where I'm just like, what am I doing here? I'm busting my ass for this. And I got nothing to show for it. And that was the worst. That was really bad to have like other people ruin your experience for no other reason other than that they didn't want to do the content that they signed up for. So that was definitely a rough one, because like I'm sitting there trying to get this raid together, and like as a guild master and a raid leader, every night there's a raid night, you get this feeling in your gut like, please show up to raid, and some people just don't show up. And then this time it was different. It wasn't like people just quit. It was an underhanded attempt to poison and to disrupt my gaming experience, and that really hurt. And that's when I had a meeting with Zell. He was my officer, and my other officer Baphomet at the time. And we had a meeting, we're like, what are we doing here? Like, screw this. So started applying for other guilds and left. Yeah. Oh no, it sucks when that happens. It's happened in so many guilds. Yeah, it's so, I don't know why people decide to be so vindictive, you know? And Zell remembers that night. That was probably the roughest night he's ever had as an officer. Cause like I'm not going to say that I cried, but I got emotional that night. Like it was really emotional to like have people ruin your raid night. Like just ruin it, like straight up ruin it. And the funniest part, the worst part was one of the kids that was in the raid decided to like taunt me, like, ha ha ha, like, oh wait, we're ruining your raid night. We're taking everyone to our guild. Like, I was like, really? Like I was 29 at the time. I'm like, really? We're pulling this crap, but to each their own, you know, you move on. And some people just crave that kind of sense of where, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like when you're in this game, in this environment, you're dealing with people that just, sometimes that's what they like to do. They get sucked into that drama and they just keep pushing forward with that drama. So it is what it is. You know, ever kick someone from your guilds? Yeah. Yeah, I've kicked some people from my guilds. Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about it? I guess we could talk about it. I don't know, Zell, should we talk about fish? Should we? Or should we just leave that one alone? Andrew's like, oh no. No fish. Yeah, let's not talk about fish. He's not worth talking about. Pearl, train pun. No fish. Yeah, let's not do that one. Let's. Do you have another question, Duds? What do I look for in a raider? That's a fucking great question. So I'm gonna ignore like what I look for in officers, because like looking for in officers, that's like so in depth, and like Zell and Andric were officers in my guild, so they know. So what I'm looking for in a raider, and Zell and Andric will know this one, I'm looking for guys like Festo. I look for guys that are good, solid players that don't mess up. They don't talk a lot. Like, I hate to say it like that. That's kind of a fucked up thing to say. Like, I don't like people who talk a lot. Yeah. Well, I mean, you need soldiers, right? A raid team is anywhere from 10 to 30 people, right? You only need a handful of officers. You just need soldiers. And those soldiers need to be people that don't complain. You know, they're soldiers, right? Don't complain. They show up. They perform well. You don't need them to be uber. Like, you just need a lot of, if you have a lot of, I call them B+ people, right? You have a lot of B+ people that don't make mistakes instead of A+ people who fail a class every now and then. That's going to hold your raid team together, because you just need a solid core of just good, solid raiders. And that'll keep you going. That'll really make it easier on you. And then like you look at things like officers are so important. They're so important in a guild. And like in this group Midnight Club, I don't have officers, just a community. It's basically just a glorified pug. So I don't really need officers, but my last guild I needed solid officers, and you need those people to keep pushing you forward and keep and have like that sense of like, you don't actually have to do a lot. Like, you can have your officers delegate. And that's one of the mistakes I made. I didn't delegate enough. Like, it took me like a year in Legends Anonymous to start delegating work, like making Failure the raid leader, and having like Andric do healing stuff. I can't remember exactly what we did, but I know I started passing the torch a little bit. So yeah. My favorite class that I rated on. You know, I've always asked, I always talk about this, and it's like one of my favorite things to talk about. I have like segments where like this class under this expansion or patch or whatever, 5.4 Prot Warrior and Siege of Orgrimmar was really fun. Like, it was like Warrior sucked in Wrath, and that's all I ever played, and it was sucky. It was not a great experience. But then in Siege of Orgrimmar, it was like everyone wanted warriors. Like, it was really cool. That was a cool time. Playing a Demon Hunter in the first couple of patches in Legion was fun. Demon Hunters they had the artifact abilities worked really well with the class. Some legendaries were really cool, like Anger of the Half Giants. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff going on. But I also really liked playing Shaman at the end of Warlords, Elemental Shaman, because the 4-piece set bonus is one that they still have today. It's a passive that they still have today, that when you build up and your Earth Shock can proc and you burn your Earth Shock. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was, if you see my old stuff as on my Elemental Shaman, like that tier set bonus became like baked into the Elemental Shaman cake, and that was one of my favorite classes to play as well. So yeah, keep those questions coming, guys. Oh, what did I forget, Becca? I remember. I was supposed to tell you about some crazy shit when I was a prison guard. I got a good one. So I was like 2 months into my time as a prison guard on the adult side. About a year in, then I went to the adult side. I worked on the youth side, and we had a Riot and B facility. And this is how the riot started. So there was a fight. Now in prison's not about street gangs. It's about race. Races hook up in gangs, right? The whites, the blacks, and the Mexicans are split in half. You have the northerners and the southerners. And usually when there's a fight on the yard, it's within a race. It's usually a 2-on-1 fight, you know, 2 Mexicans on 1 Mexican, and they're rolling the guy out because he has a drug debt or something like that. Or they do it like, even if they piss off a member of the other race, they'll roll him out themselves, right? But this time there was a fight on the yard. And we really couldn't see where it was because it was near the basketball courts. And that's where the African Americans tend to congregate on B facility. So we go to the basketball courts, we go up there, and then we get the guys down, we cuff them up. And as we're cuffing them up, we kind of look, and it's a white guy versus a black guy. And that's bad. That means something's going on, and something might kick off. We made the mistake of cuffing them up too fast. So we cuffed them up, and all of a sudden, one of my partners looks up at me and he says, "Oh shit," and the whole yard just blew up because you know, the races aren't supposed to fight other races unless there's something big going on. And this time what happened there was just they just got mad at each other and just got into a fight. It just caused a full-scale riot. And next thing I knew, there was 500 inmates running towards this area. I thought I was gonna die, but the crazy part was they literally would run around me to get to the other inmates. They didn't want anything to do with me. And then all of a sudden I hear on the radio, it's like fucking chickens clocking on the fucking radio. Everyone's screaming like, "Oh God." And all of a sudden I hear, "We lost the yard, all staff off the yard." So before I could do anything, I had to abandon this guy that I cuffed up. I get up, I run to the central control gate. I get to the central control gate and they just said, "Wait for the code to response before we get back on the yard." But yeah, that blow up of just 500 inmates all around you just coming into the center is one of the scariest moments of my life. I thought I was going to die. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. But fortunately, it had nothing to do with staff, so they would just run around you, right? Like, I had like 5 guys like almost kind of like touch your shoulders, not really assault you, but touch your shoulder to kind of get around you. And one guy kind of bumped into me, and he bumps into me and he puts his hands up. I'm sorry. I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." Like, I'm just running away. I'm like, fuck this noise. Oh my God, that sounds freaking scary and sad. Yeah, it was pretty scary. You know, I was only 26 at the time, and I went from the youth side to the adult side. And the adult side, you know, they've got more weapons. I mean, it's just a more dangerous, bad things can happen. But that's just one of those prison stories I share. And what's funny that you mentioned that, Becca, is if you look at some of my clips, I used to do former prison guard plays prison architect streams, and those streams were actually pretty funny because like sometimes I would fuck up and I'd have an escape or something, and there'd be more stories. I might pick that up again. I just haven't had the time to play it, and I usually tried to do it during the afternoons, which I can't do anymore. So. But yeah, we can get back to WoW, or if people have more questions about other stuff, we can go there. I've still got some, looks like my kid's still down, so that's good. It's gonna level this Mistweaver. I don't know, I'm just kind of like doing laps around Orgrimmar. Worst progression fight. This is a good story. I got a couple. I'm not gonna deal with end boss fights first because those ones are always easy. Back in Legion, there was a boss Trial of Valor called Odin, and Odin was overtuned. Oh, Painsmith, yeah, Painsmith. Odin was overtuned, and we had just cleared Emerald Nightmare in my guild, and we cleared it. We broke records. We cleared normals the first night, we cleared heroics in like 3 weeks. Like we were just kicking ass, and we were farming Emerald Nightmare like it was like nobody's business. I mean, we were gearing people up nose to toes. I mean, we were just fucking raping that place, right? And then Trial of Valor comes out, and the first boss is Odin, and he has tons of mechanics, tons of health, and we wiped 80 times to kill Odin for the first time on heroic. And we honestly, like, we didn't really need the gear there. It was honestly a waste of time and gold and shit. And probably took years off my life with the stress, but Odin is like the record for non-progression boss on heroic that I think I've ever wiped on. And it was such a bitch. And like, we had this monk in our group that he did so much damage, but couldn't stop dying. And like, it was just so frustrating. So Odin was definitely a tough progression fight on like heroic. I would say on like Mythic, that I've done hardcore progression on Mythic, I only have Siege of Orgrimmar, and definitely Black Fuse and Paragons were really hard. I never beat Paragons, but Black Fuse, 252 wipes on Black Fuse. Now 252 wipes back in Mists of Pandaria, that's like 600 wipes now. Like, that was an uber high wipe count for us. So it was definitely a hard fight. And I was a tank, so most of the time, I hate to say it wasn't really my fault. It was the belt team's fault or whatever. So that one was a bitch, but when we finally got it, I was so pissed. I record everything, and the one time I said, you know what, I'm running out of hard drive space, I'm not going to record it. They're like, let's do one more pull, and we got the fucking kill. I'm like, god damn it, like, I would have loved to have actually recorded. So it's like it's the hardest boss I've ever done in my life, and I don't have footage of it. But I do have footage of me progressing on it, but man. Can we not talk about Odin laser? Oh, we're Horn of Winter, right, Jake? Yeah, that shit was fucking horrible. What else was a hard one? I mean, Blackhand, obviously. If we talk about end boss fights, Blackhand was really hard because it was watching people die to the same shit. Blast Furnace, yeah, Blast Furnace wasn't as hard as Odin, but like, Blast Furnace was one of those fights where there was so much going on and it took us so long. I don't know if you remember, Andric, but like, I think it was Mike, MSB, who came up with our strat where he had to kill the 4 primals in phase 2. And he says, okay, we're having DPS problems, so why don't we do this way? I think the first one we did cooldowns. The second one we did pots. The third one we did nothing. And the fourth one we heroed. I think that's how we had to do it. On fucking phase 2 Blast Furnace, we had to blow our wad just to get past that part, and then we got to them, and like our first kill was like practically flawless. Like after all these wipes in phase 1 and trying to figure out security guards and engineers and blowing this shit up, our first kill was like practically flawless, with the exception of like, I think Nick died like at the end, and then we B-resed him. But yeah, like it was fucking like the amount of detail we went in to kill a heroic boss that wasn't even the end boss in Blackrock just goes to show you just how difficult that fight was. Avatar, yeah, Avatar was just as bad as Odin. Actually, Avatar was worse, but we killed Avatar on 40 wipes, and then we lost our tanks, and it took us another 100 to kill him. But that was there was other stuff going on in at that time too, because we lost a lot of our like core solid soldiers, so we had good players still, we just didn't have like enough stabilizers, I guess you would say. But yeah, Avatar and Tomb of Sargeras was fucking horrible. That was a horrible fight. Like Legion had some hard shit. Legion and Warlords had some hard stopgaps, but yeah. You guys are getting me thinking. Favorite non-end boss fight? I'm guessing you mean non-end raid fight. Besides Siegecrafter, obviously. Gorfiend was really cool. Phase 3 Manaroth was really cool. What else? I'm trying to think. Let's look at the dungeon journals here. Wrath of the Lich King. Let's go to Legion. Desolate Host. That was a good fucking fight. You remember that one, Andric? That was fucking good. Tichondrius was a good fight. Yeah, there's some good fucking fights. But yeah, Warlords. I've gone over and over and over on Warlords, and you just look at Blackrock Foundry, and this fucking raid was amazing. Then you go to Hellfire. This is underrated how good Hellfire Citadel was. It was long. Besides, they could have just bumped off Hell. That's what they should have done. Hellfire Citadel shouldn't have been there. Just start off at Iron Reaver, and then it would have been fine. And like every fight's good. It's got good mechanics, right? Like you got Iskar, right, where you got the eye that you're kicking around, right? And yeah, see, Andric knows. And like Sokrithar, I didn't like Sokrithar because the whole tank thing where one tank had to do that. I thought that was kind of stupid. Fellord Zakoon was a good fight that was frustrating. Zul'Harak, what a good fucking fight. Vilhari, another good fight. Manaroth, phase 2 and 3 were awesome. Yeah, that's the thing about Warlords. Like, I think Hellfire will probably go down as like the best raid that nobody did. Like our guild, we were like barely breaking the top 12,000 rankings overall, and then in Hellfire we had like rank 5,000. Like nobody fucking played no more, and then here we are getting like high ass fucking ranks and shit. But let's see if we can go back to Wrath and see what we got here. Max runs. Let's go to Ice Crown Citadel. I mean, I had a lot of fun on Syndergosa. I had a lot of Putricide. That was a fun fucking fight to win. Yeah, Putricide was definitely one of my favorite boss fights. So much cool shit going on. But, you know, we look ahead to like what's in front of us now, which is like, let's talk about Castle Nathria here for a second here. Shriekwing, basic. No real comment on it. Huntsman's a cool fight. I like what they did with Huntsman with like the shades and having to CC and all that kind of stuff. Sun King, you know, I didn't think it didn't blow me away. Artificer, it was a cool fight, but that annihilation thing kind of threw you off. Hungering Destroyer, meh. Gimmicky healer fight, meh. Dark Vein, meh. Council Blood, you know, Council was cool because of just all the stuff that happens, and a lot, like, it's a cool Council fight. I just didn't like the fact that like the way that you couldn't DPS, like you just couldn't DPS the bosses down, right? Like you had to go one at a time, which sucks, right? But I guess that's the way the fight was designed. Sludge Fist, that fight I think made the raid for me. I thought Sludge Fist was fun, like blow the room up, DPS race, ultimate survival fight. Stone Legion Generals, meh. That fight was so mess. Sire was cool. I got him down on heroic. Normal was pretty. It's what I like lately. Like ever since Legion, like Gul'dan normal was easy. Like they make the end boss easy on normals. I think that trend should continue. Sire, once you get past the first phase, Sire's fucking easy. But you know. Yeah, keep the questions coming, guys, because I've got time. See how my community's doing. Got 201 members now. There's people that are just done, but that are in here. But yeah. Favorite boss mechanic. I mean, I always go to Siegecrafter belts as like my default choice, but I'm gonna have to check that dungeon journal. I want to say I'm a big fan of mechanics that require people to think and position and do things to intelligently approach what they're doing. Like a very low tier example of this is going to be the Brand of Argus mechanic. I like this mechanic because I'm going to show you guys. It's on Tichondrius and Nighthold. Where the fuck is it? Where's the Brand of Argus? Yeah, where the fuck is it? Anyways, what the Brand of Argus was in Tichondrius was you would get this big green circle around you, and you had to get 5 people to run in it, and it would blow the raid up, and you had to time it properly, and you had to find the right people to do it right at that moment. So I thought that mechanic was really cool. If we go back to like Blackrock Foundry, where's Blackrock Foundry? You go to a fight like now let's say like Flamebender, where the dogs come out, right? The dogs come out and you got to DPS them down. One big one does a different thing. One small one chases somebody and kites them and basically pulls them out of the fight. And you have to like work your damage, and your raid has to communicate, and you have to learn how to turn up and lower your damage. Like if you ever watch Method, like old school Method, when they were in like Siegecrafter, I have never seen people able to like turn up their deeps or turn it down and still without just pulling their fingers off the keyboards. They do some incredible things. Oh, fuck. And that's one of them. But I like mechanics that what's another good one? I like ads too. Like I like it when like on General Nazgrim, when the war shamans would come out and you gotta nuke those down, and there's other ads and other shit going on. I like shit like that. I like killing ads under pressure is one of my favorite things to do, especially when I became a melee, when I became a demon hunter, like on where is it? Go to the Nighthold on fucking Botanist. Where the fuck are they? There are these ads that came out. Why the fuck aren't the ads showing up on the fucking Dungeon Journal? Anyways, they would come up and they would fuck you up, and you had to burn these motherfuckers down. You just had to burn these things down, and you or you'd fucking die. And then you get to, oh, here's another good one. Like you get to like Gul'dan and you get those empowered bonds. Like when he empowers all of his shit, like you got bonds of Fel, right? And you get empowered bonds of Fel, right? Like that's cool. I like it when a boss can turn up what it's doing and like put the pressure on you. Like you're not just going to change mechanics. We're going to make the mechanics you're already doing harder. That's fucking cool. I really like that. Like the empowered Eye of Gul'dan conjures a powered Eye of Gul'dan that channels fire energy, and like you now have to spread. Like that's fucking cool, right? Like that's the shit that I like to see in boss fights. I like to see people getting challenged and people really having to think, and that's what separates a good raider from a bad raider. And I've really learned to enjoy that part of raiding. Like I really want to think, what am I going to do and how I'm going to do it, all while trying to pump as much DPS or heals as possible. But yeah, that's I think I'm going to give it another 10 or 15 more minutes, and then we'll call it a night. So for those of you just joining, last call for rapid fire AMA. You know, I didn't like the Nighthold all that much, surprisingly, though. I just thought it was kind of meh. Like, Tyke was cool, Botanist was cool, Croesus was cool, Gul'dan was cool, but it wasn't like this. They did, like, the rating in Legion did not blow me away. I did not do Antorus, so I'll have to be, you know, heard Agrimar was kind of cool, but, like, I don't know, everything else about Legion was awesome. Like, if they had taken the rating from Warlords and put it into Legion, that would have been, like, the ultimate expansion. Any class choice regrets? I'm guessing you're meaning, like, did I ever regret playing a certain class? Yes. I played a warrior in Wrath, and I wish that I had been a Death Knight. I wish I had just leveled my guy to 55 and just rolled the DK. Because, like, I had a DK alt, and I never switched because I just dedicated so much time to that freaking warrior because of, like, his professions. You know, professions were a big deal at the time. I had dedicated so much time to my warrior that I just kind of felt, and I actually kind of bonded with that class, that I didn't really bond with the Death Knight, but I wish I had just picked the Death Knight because it was so OP. And it was so, there was a lot of complexities to that class, even though they had a hard time tuning it. Like, if you go to the Wowpedia and, like, look at the old patch notes, every major patch in fucking Wrath had like a fucking wall of text for Death Knight tuning changes. You know, they had to change how Icy Touched work and all that kind of shit. But yeah, I wish I had played a Death Knight in Wrath. I wish I didn't spend so much time tanking in Miss Pandaria, even though that's how I got through a lot of content. I wish I had, like, played Warlock or played a class that would have gotten me better raid spots and, like, switched to DPS back then instead of just sticking to tank. Because I stuck to tanking because it's like, well, if I tank, I'll always be in demand, which was true, but then I learned how to DPS, and then I became even more, like, right now, because of my Warlock and my ability to play Warlock, I get into so many guilds now. Like, I'm on, like, my 4th guild with him. Like, I got carried through an AOTC, like, because I just want Warlocks. What else? In Warlords, actually not Warlords, but I wish that I had learned to heal, because there's so much to heal. And that's what I'm trying to do right now on this guy. And I want to level this guy. I just don't have anybody to play with. But I wish I had learned to heal and understood what's going on, because, like, as a raid leader, there are times where I can't tell whether I'm having a problem healing, and I had this problem early on in Miss Pandaria. I can't tell if there's a healing problem or not. And I've never had an issue with, like, my healers being honest with me. They tend to be pretty honest people, and, like, hey, like, they're not afraid to say, even a good healer's not afraid to say, hey, we might need an extra heal, or hey, we might need to make some adjustments, or I need to do something different. But I wish I understood healing, and I wish I had healed an AOTC tier just to say, hey, man, I've healed too. And that way because I was always hands off with my healers, and I never criticized them. But I wish I had that ability too, because I had some issues with healers later on, and as a guild master, and they weren't doing what they needed to do, and I couldn't tell that they were, because I had to have other people tell me, like, hey, these healers really aren't doing their jobs, and they're just kind of getting carried, and they're not doing much, and they're dying a lot. And I didn't have that ability to criticize them because I didn't have a leg to stand on. What do you think about the tuning difficulty in normal, heroic, mythic, and 9.0 and 9.1? Well, I can't talk about mythic so much because I don't play it, but normal tuning in 9.0, I did not have a problem with how normal was tuned. Let's take a look at the boss fights in Shadowlands. In Nathria, just from what I can recall in normals, Sledgefist had a DPS check, but that's okay. It was really at the end of it. Darkvein had a couple of issues, but I had no problems with the tuning on normals. On heroic, I saw that a lot of guilds were having problems with council, But once again, it was so end of the raid, you kind of have to have that. But I didn't have an artificer maybe, but no. Right now in 9.1, there are some tuning issues that I'm noticing. In Sanctum, Terragru, I don't like the fact that they made him basically enrage and kill people at the end. I understand that's a cool mechanic, but you might want to save that for a harder ender boss fight. The 9 has normal tuning. I'm seeing a lot of tuning issues on normal, but heroic and normal Painsmith, they gotta fix this. He's not deep enough. He's boss number 5 or 6. This is like Gorefiend on Mythic all over again. So I do think they need to address Painsmith. They need to address him. Like, the problem is they're not going to do it for like another fucking month, probably. They're just going to let guilds hit the well, I mean, I don't know. They might do it next week. They might. I don't know what do you change though? You change health on the balls? Do you change how hard chains hit? Like, what do you do? It's just really fucking hard overall. Yeah, normal seemed good. I heard some guilds had really hard time in some of the Mythic Prog check fights. Yeah, I mean, also, man, the Painsmith mechanic is so punishing for personal responsibility. Maybe I'd make the flame bombs not one shot. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, right? You look at chains, right? Inflicting fire damage every 1 second. Shackled players inflict 12,000 physical damage to all allies with the fire and knock them away. They need, okay, so I get it, right? This is what they're trying to do with chains. They're trying to take a player out of the fight. They like to do mechanics like that. I don't think that's very fun. For that long, 35 seconds, you've got to just sit. I mean, if you're ranged, just maybe make it only target ranged players. But taking a melee out of the fight for half a minute, that's not fun. And if you're gonna force me out of the fight for half a minute, don't make it so punishing. Especially on normal. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is normal and it does 12,000 damage. On heroic, it's gonna do 16,000 damage. Come on. Range can still pew pew, but melee literally can go get a drink. Honestly, I kept dying because of the chains that boot players did so much damage to me. I feel it's a little off with the tuning for sure on pain. Yeah, you guys are absolutely right. I kept thinking I wish I had my shaman. I was like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, you were talking about maybe playing your Ellie shaman. Well, we can definitely use your warrior for the battle shot. It's all up to you. My flame shock and lava burst. Yeah, that would be, see, the elemental shaman would be really fun for that portion of the fight. The spike balls, like, it's just not a melee friendly fight. It's tuned too hard. And, you know, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, if they're going to do it, they got to do it quickly, especially on normals. Like, they can fuck normals, right? Normals isn't going to hurt anybody to really nerf it, right? But we'll see. We'll see what they do. Hunters are getting a nice buff. Oh, that's right. They're getting like a 10% buff. I guess they're just weak. But no, that's really good. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I want to see how Kel'Thuzad is tuned on normal and Sylvanas. I honestly don't know the Sylvanas fight. I haven't really been watching it. I really want to kill her though. Like, that's the only reason why I'm back. I didn't know if I really wanted to come back to WoW, but I came back because I want to kill Sylvanas and I want to see the content. Well, I'm looking forward to see the first few fights doing LFR next week. Yeah, you'll see the next fights next week with us, bro. You'll see that they're Terragru's whatever. Eye of the Jailer's not very fun. The 9 isn't very fun. Remnant of Zerzul, that's actually a cool fight. And Soul Render was cool. Like, Soul Render was I thought was a cool fight. Soul Render reminded me a lot of Flamebender. I like it when they do stuff like that. So Painsmith, I actually like the fight, surprisingly. But that fight, like, I don't know if you noticed it, like, we had a group that can actually knock some heroics out tonight, and we're struggling on normal. So, you know, it's a good fight. They just need to tune it. Like, Odin was a great fight. They just need to tune it. if I'm doing this okay DPS with 212 eye level, I think I'll be in an R1 Hunter and the world's at 220. Yeah, you were doing great though, Becca. I thought you did fantastic. What's your character's name, Becca? He's the hunter, I think. Yeah, we had a couple of hunters. I know, we're not really narrowing it down. How do you see this expansion ranking? Great question. Great question. I saw Shadowlands, and with like Tourgas, I had big hopes for Tourgas, and that of course fell by the wayside. So Tourgas Failure, I think, is what brought this expansion down, because it could have been the feature that saved not the game, but that could have made this expansion, and it failed. But honestly, here's a list of the expansions. You know, I looked at BFA. BFA was really bad. Warlords wasn't as bad as BFA from what I've been told. But I think this expansion has COVID's taint on it. And the fact that it's July and it took 8 months for the next tier rating to come out, I don't think is a bad thing because of COVID. We have to cut them some slack on that. It's just the way it is. At work, we had to delay the launch of one of our projects by 3 months because of COVID. So I think it's going to be an expansion that isn't looked upon as being great, but it's going to be kind of meh. I think people aren't going to be mad at it. I mean, people are mad at like Conduit Energy, but I think people are just kind of like, you know what, Blizzard, you just didn't do good. Like almost like a soft disappointment, but not angry like they were at Warlords or BFA or Kata at times. I think they pulled the devs from 9.1 to get 9.0 out in November. Yeah, because they couldn't work for so long because they had to like, I think it took them a month to get set up. Lindsay. And I suspect we'll have to wait until December, January for 9.2. Yeah, well, that's how it always plays out. Like, I think, yeah, December would be best. Actually, maybe they'll wait till January so they give us the holidays. So maybe like first week of January or second week of January, launch 9.2, and then be done. Let it roll until end of summer, early fall when the next expansion rolls out. I just want to know what the next expansion is going to be. I really want to know because it's going to dictate like a lot because my kids are going to be older and they're going to be I might have a little bit more time to play. And I'll still be working from home, so I'm interested to see where they go. One of the things that I kind of want them to stop doing is I want them to stop fucking this borrowed powered stuff that's so intrinsic to the game. Like, we need borrowed power to make it interesting, to really elevate WoW and get it past just gearing your tunes. But what we need is it to just be something like fluffy, not something integral to the entire game where when you take it away, it feels like crap, but like make us do fun shit like utility stuff, right? That is 100% spot on. They spent all this time balancing it. Yep. Then it goes up in flames. Yeah, it's like, and they made that stupid comment of, oh, you know, like, we really like how it turns out, but we won't be doing it again. That's like saying I really liked cooking this meal, but I never want to eat it again. It reminds me of MTG, the card game. They release 4 sets a year and the game never balanced. Yeah, Blizzard is Blizzard is really good at making characters, but they never balance anything. They're just really good at making cool shit. And then when it doesn't actually mix well together, like Blizzard is like a restaurant that serves awesome cake, awesome ribs, awesome sushi, awesome girls' cocktails, awesome appetizers, but none of it actually, like, you can't sit down from the drinks to the apps to the meals to the dessert and have it feel like it's a complete meal. Everything's off balance, right? Like, who wants to eat cake after having sushi? Who wants to have ribs in sushi? Like, it doesn't work. But they make great sushi and they make great ribs and they make great appletinis, right? Yeah, you know, who wants any of that? You know, each individual part is good, but the whole makes, absolutely, you're absolutely right. Like, having, like, let's do this fucking covenant shit, right? Like, having the soul, like, why? You don't need the soul binds and conduits, right? Like, if they had, like, it just, it screams of pretentiousness, right? Like, Eon Hazakostas, I think, is this guy who thinks he can logically reason his way out of everything. And he's like, conduits suck balls, dude. That's why I'm only doing normals. And that's why I got carried through heroics. I don't want to go hunt for best in slot conduits. Like, I just want to level and gear my tunes. Like, you know what would be awesome? What they should do every expansion? Just make it the fucking weapon, right? Do the artifact weapon, but just like a custom weapon where it has a little talent tree. You fill it up, and then every patch you just do the concordance points where it just ups the damage, and then make a weekly cap or something like that. That would be interesting. You can customize a new, like, next expansion, you can customize a new weapon, and then maybe there's some utility with that weapon, but it doesn't, all it does really is up your damage. That's all it really does. And kind of like the shot touched weapons in Miss Pandaria. That was great. I wish Covenants was strictly cosmetic stuff. Well, shit, you might as well treat it as such, because that's all like, that's all that really matters. Because like all you're not doing it, you're not gonna get the one you want. You're gonna get the one that's more powerful. And like Preach did that video where he says, oh yeah, you know, casuals will just do it for, you know, the cosmetics. Nope, they'll do it for the power. So you're absolutely right. Make it for cosmetics. I mean, Eon was the original raging raid leader. He took over the game and made it nothing but mechanics and systems. I wouldn't call him the original raging raid leader. He was the raid leader of and guild leader of elitist jerks. He was just this pompous dude, right? Who thinks he knows everything, and now he runs the game, and that's scary, dude. Like, imagine the most pompous person you ever know, who, like, think of like the worst craft beer snob ever becoming the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. Holy shit. Like, think of the guy who you hate his opinion on baseball becoming the fucking commissioner of baseball. That's what this is with Eon. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. You know, but I understand that like Alex Afrasiabi was in a guild. I mean, they're all MMO players, right? They're all going to be involved. But like, Eon Hazakostas is quite possibly the greatest encounter designer in the history of MMOs. Bar none. He is absolutely horrible at making overall decisions for the game because he thinks he knows everything. Yeah, he definitely thinks he's a genius. Yeah, absolutely. He thinks he's a genius. He thinks that he, like, the worst was when they took away flying and then he made this wall of text to like explain to you why you shouldn't have it anymore. And that to me like screamed of just pretentious nonsense, you know, pretentious nonsense, and, you know, not understanding like what, and it's hard, right? Like, it's really hard to do this. And I'm not going to sit here and say I know how to do this, but like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like, come out with some really great raids, give us some cool looking items, You know, do something like the artifact weapons was cool. Do something like that. So instead of artifacts, like, okay, next expansion, you know, you'll get to customize it and you can go out and find skins or colors. You can go out and maybe affix a sheath that's really cool, and just do the simple stuff and make it long term. You know? What is the worst part about something you liked in game? I guess you mean like critiquing something you liked. I did not mind the legendary acquisition system in Legion. I didn't mind the legendary system overall, and I know everyone hated the fact that they couldn't target legendaries. And I hated that part too, but I had to put on a happy face as the guild leader of a guild in order to get people to stay playing. I had to stay positive. I couldn't be angry. So I hated the acquisition, that it was random. They should have just made it, you know, like they did it. I guess at the end I wasn't there to just get it. Just like earn valor or whatever to go buy them. But yeah. What else? I thought that be careful how I say this. I did not like Titan Forging for some of the same reasons people like Titan Forging. I just hated the people that hated Titan Forging a lot because they were such whiners. Like, I love Titan Forging and War Forging because I thought that it really helped you out when you just needed an item level boost and could hold you over. Like if you got a mythic War Forged level, fuck, my kid's waking up. This might be it for me. Stay down, kid, stay down. If he wakes up, I'll have to peace out. Yeah, he's awake. Anyways, my kid just woke up. So I'm going to have to call it a night, ladies and gentlemen. You guys take care. We'll be back Wednesday for raid.